Hi, I'm Justin Dahl, a partner with McKinsey & Company, an ECC Executive Advisory Committee member. We are here at the 2023 ECC conference, and with me today is Dick Westney, our 2023 Achievement Award winner. So Dick, first I want to say congrats on such an amazing accomplishment.
Well, thanks very much, Justin. It's a wonderful thing to receive that today after the long career that I've had and all the engagement I've had with ECC.
Outstanding. I do have a few questions I wanted to ask you today.
Sure.
So, as you mentioned, you've been involved with ECC for quite a long time. Um, and you've committed yourself to being involved in many industry organizations.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen as the benefit? What keeps you involved in organizations like ECC?
Well, you know, when you have a small business, you have to be very, very careful where you allocate your time. And so in spite of all the time that I've spent with professional associations and other aspects of getting involved in the community, you might say, I've never done so in a way that I felt did not make sense from a career and a business perspective. And that's not to say that it's all about the money, so to speak, but it is to say that there's tremendous reward in doing that. There's not only the psychological reward, there's not only the reward of working with people that are doing the kind of work you do and learning from them and contributing to making the industry better, but there's actually a real tangible reward in your career trajectory and how you're able to help your own company and your own projects do better. So I have never found that not to be the case, and so I've kept it up all those years.
Great. You mentioned having your own company. You had your own consulting firm for over 40 years, Westney Consulting. What did you see if you go back, in time? What were you thinking? What were you seeing in industry? You were working at ExxonMobil. Where was the need, in projects that led you to start your own company?
Well, I'd love to be able to say that I had some tremendous business flash of insight that led me to start a business. I would say the real answer to the need that I felt was actually inside my own head. It was a kind of personal need to try life outside the large corporation. I frankly loved working for Exxon, but I just felt I need to see what I could do with my own business in project management. But once I started thinking about that, I could see there was a big need in the industry. My work with Exxon at that time was around big mega projects where you're doing things for the first time and everybody is challenged every day to figure out how to do it. And I thought, if I could build a consulting firm that would help address these problems of mega projects, that's a new set of challenges, and that would be a real contribution. And I'd be very interested in doing that. And along with that was the emergence of what today it would almost seem funny, but the emergence of new technology around project management. Keep in mind, this was at a time when the personal computer was still 8 years away. But we did have mini computers that you could put on a job site and a number of other things that were starting to emerge at that point that would also help address this issue of mega project challenges. And with all those things together, that was the idea behind the start of Westney Consulting Group.
Great. And of course, you've seen so much over a storied career. What do you think are some of the biggest changes you've seen in our industry and how we execute projects?
Well, of course, it's a long list, but I'd say the first big change that, as I think about that period of time, was when I was in engineering school in the 60s, there were no women engineering students. I don't mean there were none anywhere, but there were certainly none in any of my classes. And in the early days of my career, I didn't work with any women engineers. It was just, this was back in the 60s, this was not something very common. And yet just a few years later, in the early 80s, I had an opportunity to teach at Texas A&M University, and in construction management, in fact, not just engineering, but construction management, 25% of my class were young women. And that made such an impression. And not only that, they were very motivated. And of course, very good students, very interested in the profession. And that that impacted me greatly, frankly. And of course, the other big change is kind of goes back to the initial idea, has to do with technology, of course. You know, we all say that our industry is slow to embrace technology, and it's true to some degree, and there's reasons for that, but that's not to say that we haven't come a long way with technology in our industry. So those are certainly a couple of things that I think is a path that just keeps continuing. It's not a one-off event, but it's a trend that's continuing and made the industry much better.
So you mentioned technology, of course, it's been an opportunity and continues to be an opportunity. You know, as you kind of look at where the industry is today, you know, what do you see as some of the big challenges or the big opportunities that our project organizations need to take on?
Well, you know, I think the biggest one is the energy transition that we're in right now. I mean, and certainly in my 50 years in the engineering construction industry, and most of it involved with energy projects, I have never seen a time or participated in a time where the change was so profound and important and exciting and also challenging as what we have now with the energy transition. So, of course, one part of it is that we are now doing our projects with much bigger goals in mind than just return on capital employed. You know, we always feel we're making the planet a better place, but we're doing that even more so with the energy transition projects. Number two, there's all these new players, people that are investing in these projects, people that are doing these projects, people that are in the supply chain, you know, aspects of it that maybe didn't exist a few years ago. And then there's whole new ways of working, whole new methodologies that we're doing now. And of course, technology is part of that. So all the conversations about what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it are more than just an incremental change over the previous year, as any industry would have, but they're actually much more of a sea change in how we do our work. So I just think this is as exciting and fascinating as this industry has ever been, and it's always been those two things.
As a closing question, just wanted to ask, as we've talked, you've been involved with ECC for so long. Mm-hmm. You're winning our Achievement Award, which will what is a memory that you have kind of that really sticks out of your time being involved with the ECC?
Well, you know, I think it would be I don't remember the exact year, but I'm going to guess it's about 15 years ago. It was our ECC conference when our keynote speaker was David McCullough, the historian who's written all these wonderful books. And he had, shortly before that, published the book about the Panama Canal. And I'm pretty sure I was on the board at that time, and so the discussion, I certainly remember the discussion about, well, who should our keynote speaker be? And the thing to keep in mind is up to that point, budgets were pretty tight. ECC was not quite the powerhouse that it is today. And we had never, ever had a speaker that commanded this kind of honorarium that someone as esteemed as David McCullough did. And there was quite a lot of talk about that. It's like, well, wait a minute, this guy, he writes history books, really. I mean, like, we're all about construction here. Oh, yeah, but, you know, he just wrote one on the Panama Canal. He could talk about the construction of the Panama Canal. And we kind of thought maybe this is just the time to move to another level of thought leadership. And so I remember sitting there thinking like, okay, well, I hope this investment in this guy was worth it. Yeah. And it was just the most amazing talk that he gave. He did not really talk about construction of the Panama Canal. Yeah. What he talked about was the why he does what he does, the arc of history, and why it was so fascinating to him. And I think I sat there realizing this is what ECC really is about. It's about thought leadership and bringing all of these different ways of thinking and problem solving into what we do and bringing people together to be motivated by that. And of course, from that meeting on, the rest is history. And you look at the incredible lineup of speakers that we have now. But of course, it's not just the speaker, it's why they're there. It's the things that they're talking about, and then how we then together translate that into making our industry better. So I'd say that's probably my number
really
one
good.
memory from UCC.
Well, Dick, I want to thank you for the time. Appreciated the discussion, and congratulations again.
Thank you very much, Justin. Really enjoyed it.